Okay, dear students, let's come to conditional clauses. There are three types of conditional clauses. Type 1, which is possible in future. Type 2, which is likely to happen. And type 3, which is not likely to happen. So let's come to type 1, which is possible in future. Type 1 is used when we have simple present tense and it follows the structure of will plus verb. Let's look into an example. If I study well, I will pass in the exam. Okay, before going deep into it, let's have a look at the sentence again. If I study well, I will pass in the exam. This sentence has two parts. If I study well and I will pass in the exam. In this, if I study well is the if clause and I will pass in the exam is the main clause. Okay, now let's come back to our sentence. If I study well, I will pass in the exam. In this sentence, you find that the verb is in simple present tense. The verb study is in simple present tense. We told earlier that if you have simple present tense, it follows will plus verb. So it will become will pass. So when you are having a conditional clause with present tense, it will use will plus verb. I will pass. So the sentence is if I study well, I will pass in the exam. In this sentence, there is a chance that if the person studies, he will pass the exam. The chance of happening is more. Coming to type 2, likely to happen. In this, the verb is in simple past tense. So it uses the structure of would plus verb. If I studied well, I would pass in the exam. Okay, let's look at the sentence. Here you find that studied is the verb which is in past tense. And when you have it in past tense, you have to use would in the main clause and which is followed by a verb. So it becomes would pass in the exam. Here the chances of this happening is very less. Okay, now let's come to type 3, which is not likely to happen. It uses the past perfect tense of the verb. And here it follows the structure of would have plus verb in its past participle. If I had studied well, I would have passed in the exam. Okay, now let's look at this sentence. Here you have the past perfect tense had studied and would have in the main clause. As you have the would have, it takes the past perfect of pass, that is passed in the exam. So the sentence becomes, if I had studied well, I would have passed in the exam. Condition clauses are used for making plans. If I win a lottery, I will go on a tour. It's also used for talking about future activities. If I come tomorrow, I will give you a chocolate. It's also used for advice and recommendations. If you work hard, you will get good results. An if clause begins with an if and has a subject and a verb. Okay, now let's look at this sentence. If you play, you will win. Here, the if clause is if you play. In this, you have a subject, which is the subject, you is the subject, and you have a verb. So, which is the verb here? Play is the verb. The sentences containing if are called conditional sentences. It is used to express possibility, imagination, and unfulfilled conditions.